Hello everyone, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Welcome to today's video. Today is going to be a hobby painting and modelling showcasey type video where I'm going to be going through my Horus Heresy stuff. So, for those of you who remember, I bought the Burning of Prospero way too early. And I did an unboxing for it, which you can check out the link in the description below, which also allows you to look at the lore of the Burning of Prospero, which I think is always kind of nice. And I have made a start on the models. I have not done as much as I planned to do. I will admit that freely. But we have started it, and I want to show you where we're up to, where we're going-ish, and maybe a few thoughts, because I did my Horus Heresy getting started video with Ego Queen Alexis, which I'll put as the second link in the description, so you go and check that out as well. And that should give me a bit of an idea of where I'm going to go going forward, assuming Magnus and assuming no Magnus, because for those who don't know, I play Thousand Suns. The Thousand Suns have been my favourite legion for pretty much immediately after I made my top 5 Primarchs video. So I think I'm going to do a redux on that. Somebody remind me in one of my comments to do a redux on the top 5 Primarchs video. So I'm playing Thousand Suns, and obviously we don't have book 7 yet, so there are a few things over there I'm kind of hanging on for, but I have a plan at the moment, and that may be edited when we get book 7. So let's get to the models. And here they are, my very first Legionnaires Astartes Space Marines. And for those of you who have the Burning of Prospero, yes, I put the chainswords on in the wrong place. I fixed this on some of the later models. So here you have a basic Tactical Marine, behind the chair, a Tactical Marine with Legion Vexilla, and a Sergeant with Bolt Pistol and Power Sword. And I'm going to be honest, these guys are not hard to paint. They're just, I don't know, I find them sometimes a little bit tedious. So let's look at the basic Marine, because that's the fastest. The chainsword should actually be put back here for the record, not here. Will make your life much easier when gluing the arms on. Anyway, so you can tell the arms don't glue on very well. Now the way, if you remember the unboxing, the way the kit goes together is you have the arm that holds the, you've just got 2 arms that go up to the shoulder, to the chest, and then the bolter is held in by the right hand, and the left hand is attached to the actual arm, and it slots in. This sounds great on paper, but it's actually kind of annoying depending on how you build the kit, and this may be a mistake that I've made, but I thought the best solution would be to build the arms completely separately from the torso and have 2 separate sub-assemblies. So legs, torso, head, backpack, and then the arms, including shoulder pads, because once I realised that I could actually paint underneath them without much trouble, they don't actually block too much. And then the pistol and chainsword, or whatever he's carrying, in this case an ammo pack and chainsword, could just be carried as separate sub-assemblies and just glued on at the end. Sounds great on paper, and in some cases it works, in others it doesn't. As you can see here, the join just isn't very good. And I will note that this arm is as far up the barrel of the bolter as it is possible to be. It's not like, oh, I've just glued the arms on too wide apart. They can't go any narrower. Even on the Vexilla Marine, they just don't sit square. They should sit absolutely dead flat square. And they kind of don't, which is an annoyance. I will say it, it's an annoyance. But I can live with it, and I think when I go forward, I will maybe try a few Marines where I build slightly differently. So I leave the bolter off, and I just attach, or maybe what I'll do is I'll have this arm and the bolter, paint that up, have this arm as a completely independent sub-assembly, and then try and glue it all together at that point and see if that's any better. I'm thinking that's what I'm going to try. Anyway, on to the paint scheme. So the paint scheme is pretty simple, I'm going to be honest, because with Legionaries you need to get them out quickly. Also, these guys are either Legionary veterans or tactical squads who are upgraded because they have chainswords. So the paint scheme is as follows. Mephiston red, Null Oil wash, Mephiston red highlight. That's it. that is the armor in a nutshell. It is really ludicrously quick and simple because I need to do it quickly. There's a lot of red, and in terms of what gets highlighted, it's basically the raised areas. It's not like edge highlighting because I'm not great at painting Space Marines. I've never got good at painting Space Marines. So you can see the hands did not get highlighted, whereas that arm plate did. The shoulders got another coat, the chest plate got another coat, the top of the head got another coat. Some of the raised leg plates got another coat. I think the top foot piece got another coat. Actually, that one's come out really, really badly. And a couple of pieces on the backpack got another coat as well. Generally, just the raised areas got another bit. If I had more paint and more skill and more time, I might do some edge highlighting with a really kind of light red to sort of edge off these boot points and the little pieces along here, but I don't have the time or skill to do that. I'll explain more about my timings a little bit in a bit. That's the armor. The gold trim is actually the GW paint scheme. I actually followed a GW paint scheme for once, and the scheme for that is Retributor armor base coat, right gland flesh shade wash, and a highlight of Sigmarite. So Marines go over here, and paints go here-ish. So that is the gold, and it's really good in that it's quick and efficient. The Retributor armor is a really nice base coat. The flesh shade, actually, I didn't think of this. As a credit to GW, it fills in the recesses really nicely, particularly on, if I get the Sergeant's helmet. See, it just kind of picks out the recess a little better. The Sigmarite, I don't agree with the dry paints. They have a use, I'm sure, but for dry brush highlighting, not really. I barely notice the difference unless I was applying it liberally. Like, trying to apply it as a dry brush, I'll show you the structure of the dry paint. So if I just open this up, you can see that's not really conducive to covering an area. It's not, I don't know, maybe I just don't know how to use the dry paints correctly, but I'm not a huge fan of Sigmarite, and I would almost be just as happy using Retributor armor or another lighter gold as an edge highlight. I'd be just as happy doing that. It seems to do exactly the same thing for me. In terms of other stuff, the metal is simply Ironbreaker with a wash, and then it's just some black and some brown. So for example, there's some brown on here, some black there, some brown on here, and then the eyepieces are in Cantor blue or Macragge blue. I think it's Macragge blue if I remember it correctly. Not super dark, but not super bright either. And the Sergeant little head plume is the same. It's Cantor blue. I think I then washed it to get the recesses, maybe applied some Macragge blue, and then just edge highlighted a lot along the tops with Lothern blue, which is pretty simple. And that's basically it. This squad has no special weapons in it. This is just a 10-man tactical squad or veteran squad with bolters. I'll also come to the parchment actually on the Vexilla, which I've actually learned how to pronounce. So I've done it with proper green laurels, and I'm actually quite happy with those laurels. So they were done with Caliban green, and then some, what's it called? Elysian green, or something like that. I don't think I used my super light green highlight. I don't have that paint to hand. I thought I did. I don't. So I definitely didn't use it. So Elysian green, just sort of pick out some details. Silver Skull, red and gold done as before, and then Administratum Grey. And I used the Flesh Shade wash on that piece of parchment. I'm not sure I should have. I'll show you what happens when you use a black wash, because that's what I used on Ahriman, who we'll come to in a moment. And then came the transfers. Oh my god. If there's one thing that I do not envy Space Marine players for, it's transfers, because, oh my god. I don't like transfers. I said it on the podcast, I don't like transfers. This one is okay. This one is bearable, because it sits flat-ish reasonably quick. This Scarab, screw this thing. This thing is a nightmare. I had to use both of my brushes holding the transfer and sort of, hang on, if I just get my brushes, I've got the ends on them, but I was like holding it like that and squeezing it on like that. Because if I did it with one brush, it didn't work properly. It was a flipping nightmare, I can tell you. Because the transfer sheet, because it's a transfer sheet, is flat. These surfaces are not flat. They are a nightmare. They are a nuisance. I don't like transfers. And because I enjoy torturing myself, I put some more transfers on the Sergeant. Just because I did. There's no extra details on the Sergeant because these guys are going to be having to be cranked out. I'm going to have 60 of these guys if I get Calth, so they need to be quick and reproducible. Each Marine takes me, if I don't get distracted, probably 2 hours, which is shockingly too long. But it's because I think it's the gold. The red I can do quite quickly, but because I do it in a particular order, like I paint the gold before I paint the red because I'm very messy with the gold. I can be careful with the red, but with the gold, I'm just really, really messy. Not on purpose, by accident. I'm really messy with the gold. And I prefer to do it first because then I can just go over it with the red. Whereas if I do the red then the gold, I have to go back over with the red anyway, and it's a waste of time. Whereas I have to make less corrections when I do the red second. And I think the gold really slows me down. I do. The red takes time, obviously, but the gold is a time drain, and I need to get faster. Because at the moment, I can't afford to be spending another 20 hours just painting the tactical Marines. I don't have another 20 hours to paint the tactical Marines. I just don't. But that's something I've got to work on. And it will probably revolve around not getting as distracted as easily, because that is something I'm very, very guilty of. Oh, I've just realised something. They have wide backpack slits to take the Vexilla. Wide, narrow. Look which one I put the Vexilla in. I've just realised this. I am a colossal idiot. Okay, lesson learned. So yeah, I have a 10-man tactical squad, all with chainswords, no other upgrades, and there's the sergeant guy and a Vexilla. And I'm going to be doing another tactical squad, completely basic. The sergeant might have a bolt pistol and chainsword, but completely basic, not even got chainswords, which will be my sit in a corner chump objective holder. And then I'm working on another squad, the third squad, which will be my proper veteran squad. That squad will rock either plasma melter or double plasma. I'm thinking double plasma, but then I don't know if my friends know enough about taking armored ceramite all the time to counter melter. So I'm thinking I might rock plasma melter. And the sergeant I've actually built the sergeant. He's blue tacked, but I built the sergeant. He's going to have a plasma pistol. Yeah, this is what plasma pistols used to look like. And a lightning claw. The arms are blue tacked on, don't worry. Whoops. So yeah, so I've got one squad's going to be completely basic, one squad with a power sword and chain swords and a Vexilla. Oh, all squads will have a Vexilla. And then a veteran squad with probably triple plasma, so 2 plasma guns and a plasma pistol and a lightning claw. I know lightning claws are not the most effective weapons in the game, but I like lightning claws a lot. I'm just a big fan of lightning claws. I'm sorry, I am biased. Anyway, so that's the plan with the tactical squads. I have started one of the... I've done one Terminator. Here's my Terminator. He has lightning claws. I'm going to do this squad probably quite combat orientated. So it will probably have a plasma blast gun. The sergeant has a chain fist and a Volkite charger. And the other guys, I'm probably kind of a mix of lightning claws and chain fist. Probably one more chain fist. And then the rest will just be lightning claws. So there'll probably be plasma blast gun, chain fist, and then 3 chomp dudes with lightning claws, and then the sergeant will have a Volkite charger and a chain fist. Just to give me a bit of anti-tank, as well as general AP2 in this squad, which is also going to be quite agile and good at getting into melee and dealing with things quickly, because lightning claws are pretty nice. I know it's not probably worth taking the second lightning claw over the combi bolters, but I have a thing for the twin lightning claw aesthetic. I really like the twin lightning claw aesthetic, and so I'm biased. The Terminator is actually quite quick to paint once you do the red, because you've not got a lot of other details, particularly with lightning claws, because you've only got a little bit of black and silver. These transfers are just as annoying, and yeah, you can see that the highlighting comes out a little bit clearer on the Terminator. Not much to say about the Terminators. They're actually really, really quick to paint, and you can actually build them all in one. I think this guy was actually built all in one. My sergeant is definitely built all in one. So they are actually quite nice to do quickly. The sergeant will have to be standing in as my leader for the time being, because grumble grumble, book 7 isn't out yet, so librarians aren't legal compulsory HQs, grumble grumble. So that's a problem, but that's something I can live with for the moment. And yeah, so that is my Terminator, and those are my tactical marines. As I say, I've got 10 of them. And that's it, apart from one more model, the leader of the army, Ahzek Ahriman. And here is the HQ in question. Ahzek Ahriman, Chief Librarian of Thousand Suns, although he's not legally the leader of the army until book 7 comes out. Anyway, so there's not much different on Ahriman compared to the other Marines. So the red is done exactly the same way, the gold is done exactly the same way, although I think I had some silver on this, and I started painting it silver and then I thought changed my mind and painted it gold. And there's a few extra details. So, Marine on his base, I did go with Space Wolf. This is one of the few times I was kind of glad to have the Fang and Rust Grey in my collection, because I could actually paint them in Space Wolf colours, which was kind of nice. The one thing, Ahriman is one of those models you're going to be really careful when you build him, because you have to put the Space Wolf on his base in just the right place that his foot slots into it correctly. It does have a slot, sort of, that he goes into, but you've got to be careful that you put the Marine in the right place so as he stands up correctly. Or you could just find some other way to stand up on his base. I just used the Marine because I thought it was cool, and I had no other way to do it. The front tabard and the entire front chest piece gets in the way. The backpack and the back chest piece, and the cloak, gets in the way. And this arm is about the only thing that doesn't get in the way, and this is not even a removable piece that you can do separately. So you do have to think about how you're assembling him, and the head also blocks the horn details from being painted very accurately, so watch that as well. So basically, paint every single component individually with the exception of this arm. Pretty much. It is a bit of a pain, but you live with it, you get used to it. It's not a major deal, it just slows down if you want to get him on the table before you painted him. You have to use sub-assemblies because it doesn't really hold together all that well. Anyway, on to the paint scheme. So yeah, red's the same, gold's the same, silver is just the same. I'm kind of glad that I did the wash, because it actually allowed me to pick out the details a little bit, because it's quite an intricate. I know it's not a halberd, but it looks like a halberd. So, scythe. Khopesh? I think Remley's call it a Khopesh. I'm going to go with that. Anyway, it's a force axe, because it looks like a halberd, and halberd-like weapons are treated as force axes by the 40k rule. Excuse me. By the 40k rulebook, so that's what I'm going to use it as. So, what's new? The cloak. The cloak is Cantor blue with a Lothern blue lining, and I did the lining first. I maybe shouldn't have done the little inset first, but the reason I did is because if I'd have painted it fully in Cantor blue and then gone into the recess with the Lothern blue, I'd have made a mess. I had to clean it off. Now, cleaning it off might have left some marks on the Cantor blue, which I'd had to clean off anyway and repaint over with Cantor blue. So I thought, let's paint the recesses first and then just be careful with the Cantor blue. It worked, mostly. It's not perfect, but it mostly does the job. And I'm kind of using Lothern blue as my magic colour. So it's kind of like there's sort of like arcane script or enchanted linen weaved into his cloak. His eyes are actually Lothern blue instead of Macragge blue, indicating he's casting a spell, which he is. And these little runes, which are painted terribly, but that's because of this thing gets in the way, are also indented with Lothern blue over the red because they are glowing with arcane power. I maybe should have done these a different colour, but if I want Lothern blue to be my signifying magic colour, then that's what I'm just going to have to run with. The tabard is the white with black wash. Now you saw white with flesh/brown wash came out light on the Vexilla. This is what comes out with a black wash, which is much better. So I'm glad I did the Vexilla first. I might go back and fix that another time. And then black on there. And that's what the outer cloak looks like as well. It's off-white, so yeah, Administratum Grey, Noir wash. Just because it's going to have seen some use. He's on the battlefield. I doubt it would have stayed pristine white or even close to pristine grey had he left it that way. Also, no transfers. This is sculpted, which is great. Now, I don't mean to sound picky, but this is Ahzek Ahriman. Why is what looks like Eye of Horus on his right shoulder pad? It doesn't make sense. If you want to roleplay as Ahriman, then either put the Scarab, because to fit with the rest of the army, or put the Raven. The Raven is the symbol of the Corvidae cult, which Ahzek Ahriman is the leader of. So why not put a Raven? So it can be treated as not Ahriman. So it can be treated as a generic traitor Thousand Sons librarian because he's got the Eye of Horus as well. But the Thousand Sons were basically not involved in the heresy at all after Prospero. They went to the planet of the sorcerers, and maybe a few were around at Terra, but there weren't many, if any. I think there were a few, but not loads. So, not the choice I would have made with that shoulder pad. I'd have either left it to transfers or put the Corvidae symbol there because it's Ahriman, but I can understand why they didn't if they wanted it to not be Ahriman. And there's a couple of little Easter eggs thrown in on the paint scheme as well. Note that the staff is primarily black, foreshadowing, and the horns are painted with white and blue, again, foreshadowing, because Ahriman in the 40k universe wields a weapon called the Black Staff, and has a lot more like blue and white sort of crests on the Thousand Sons Marines, at least before Wrath of Magnus comes out, in case they get a slight tweak to their paint scheme, which I don't think they are. They might get a slight tweak, but that's what it was before, and that's what I'm going to stick with. So it's like, ooh, foreshadowing for Tzeentch, ooh. I don't know, I just thought that was funny, so I thought that was worth doing. Note, he has got a bolt pistol. It's down here. Can't really see it, but it's there. He's carrying some scrolls. I like to think from the Book of Magnus, considering it was entrusted to him by Amon during the Burning of Prospero. Although it could just be his own little spells. It could even be the rubric if you want to do some cool role playing if you want to set this after Prospero. And that's pretty much it. Ahriman is cool, great model. I actually really, really love the model. A lot more than I like the new Ahriman model, but I might make a separate video where I talk about the Wrath of Magnus models, because I didn't get a chance to do it on the podcast this week. So, yeah, I really like this model, and I would thoroughly recommend this model. If it comes on sale separately, pick it up. Unless it comes with a Space Wolf, in which case reconsider maybe, because Space Wolves, boo. Can you tell I'm a Thousand Sons player? Anyway, that is Ahriman, and that is going to be the models for today. Like I say, I plan to have a lot more done, but time constraints. I have been very poor with organising my time at uni. I'm on top of my work. I'm getting all my work done, submitted on time. That's not a problem. But between writing scripts, food, my sport commitments, because I'm playing for a sports team at uni, and my actual course commitments, I'm not making time to paint. It's one of my lower priorities. I had my hobby bug, and it bit me like crazy when I did my town. I got the 8 finished, and it bit me for a while I was doing the first bit of Prospero. But as I got further into this semester and work got back on top of me, it was a case of, right, priorities. First thing that goes out the window, painting, because I want to keep the channel running. That is far more important to me than my models, because no one else is going to have their armies ready at this point. I get 1,000 points out of Prospero, so I can make 1,000 point games when I go home, as long as I have them painted by the time I go home in summer, which is a long time away. And then after that, I'm not even going to be in the country. But I'll talk about that probably in August, when it comes around to what the plans are for third year at university. Anyway, so that's the models, and that's pretty much the video. So where are we going? Well, at the moment, we're kind of playing a waiting game as Thousand Sons players, because Book 7 isn't out. We don't know what the Thousand Sons organization is going to be. We don't know what Magnus is going to be like. We don't know what the rules for Ahriman are. We don't know jack at the moment. So it's a case of wait and see. If it goes as I think, then I will probably get Magnus, because Magnus, some Scarab Occult Terminators to work with him, and Calth. And say that's pretty much what I want. That gives me a bunch of Marines, a couple of Terminator squads, a Dreadnought, a leader or two, or I'm not sure I'm going to use the Chaplain, because Chaplains in the Thousand Sons doesn't make sense lore-wise, because they were there to watch for librarians and psychic powers when the entire Legion was psychic. No, that doesn't make sense. They may have rules for that, but if that comes to it, I'll just give one of my other friends the Chaplain, maybe in return for one of their Ahriman models. I don't know. That's the idea. So it would be sort of like get Magnus eventually, get some more Terminators to come here with Scarab Occult, which are like the leaders of the Terminators, get Calth, and then probably see where we go from there. Probably add a couple of vehicles, one more Dreadnought. I'm tempted to try out Breaches. I really am tempted to try out the Breacher squads. I want to try out Apothecaries. And there's a few things I'll just look through the Horus Heresy book. Ooh, that sounds cool. Breacher teams particularly come to mind because the boarding shields look really cool. But I will have to see exactly how that's going to work, and that will a lot depend on book 7. If book 7 is really bad and or is delayed or I can't use it, then I will probably just get a basic Legion list. So get Calth, get another Dreadnought, so I can block out the elite slot quite comfortably, using the Rite of War to move my Terminators to troops. Get maybe a transport vehicle to carry Ahriman in. I'm not sure where I'll put him. Probably maybe group a couple of tactical squads up, but then Mark 4 and Mark 3, I have some thinking to do about how I'll organise my squads, but that's all for the future. And if I do ever make some progress, then I will, of course, let you know. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. I do hope you have enjoyed it. I know there's not a lot to show off, and I know my painting is still trash, but hey, what can you do? Thank you all for watching. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave it a like rating, seeing as the YouTube algorithms have changed again, and it seems like that might actually be important nowadays. I don't know. But if you want to like the video, then feel free to do so. Leave any comments down below about the paint scheme, some ideas going forward, other than basic, like how to build a Legion, like me and Alexis covered. If you've got any cool suggestions, then feel free to run them past me, and I'll see what I think. And of course, we wait for January. Thank you all for watching. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis. I'll see you all again. Goodbye.